Never Legends podcast, I have Patriot Coach Sherman Rivers, whose Pioneers just won, I think, the fifth or sixth straight regional, or just
It's third straight, 4 out of the last 6.
for the last six. And probably, how about district titles? How many of you won in a row?
7 regular season, 6 district tournament
Right.
championships.
Completely dominant, 24-1 record. He beat his alma mater, Potomac, in the final. And what I understand was a great environment. Coach, thanks for doing this. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So look, 2 years ago, you guys lost in a regional final, I believe, or state. You lost a heartbreaker to Battlefield, right?
Right, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was regional final. That was that state quarter.
State semis.
That was state semis. Last year, you got to the state final, lost to Hayfield. Coming into this season, expectations were very high. Tay Barber, Harvard signee, had transferred in from Osborne. When you have these kind of expectations on your team, is it really hard to enjoy all the work, or do you still enjoy all the legwork that goes into building a championship team?
Well, it's obviously expectations are expectations. We have very high ones of ourselves outside of the high ones that everybody else has for us. But I always tell our guys, the journey is the part that you remember. The end is always, can be great or it can be, sad. But at the same time, you remember those bus trips. You remember those workouts in the summer. You remember those times in the weight room, those random morning practices that we have to have, in case the schedule gets messed up. So, I enjoy each journey for what it is. Clearly, there's a lot of pressure we put on ourselves to be successful. But, we work hard enough that it's one of those things that's the expectation because of the work we put in.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I think this season you guys have been remarkably consistent. I don't really, you lost, like I said before, you lost 4 games. No bad losses. Your performances have been pretty solid. I do think you guys have, the last month and a half or so, you've been able to take it to the next level, which I'm sure that's the whole goal. Did I read that right? Season's been very consistent. You've gotten production out of the players going in. We thought you were going to get production out of.
Well, listen, you have a plan, you have a goal in mind, what you're going to do, and obviously you want to be getting better as the season progresses. I've talked about it a few times, and I'm not shy in saying that I think that we've played the toughest schedule in Division 6 out of everybody. I was looking at the top 10s in Division 6, 5, and 4, and our schedule's littered with all types of schools from all of them. I mean, we scrimmaged Jackson Reed, who's ranked number 20 in the nation right now as a public school. Even going back into the fall and the summer, I mean, we played Westbo in the fall. We played a bunch of really good teams in the summertime. So, our guys have been battle tested. They've been put in tough situations. They have, we talked about expectations. They have played up to the expectations that were set for them as individuals and as a team thus far. I think really the only bad loss we might have had would have been against Archbishop Carroll, and that's a WCAC school. So it's not something where we've been in a situation where we've played really bad. Maybe outside of the first game against Woodside, we didn't play well, but we progressed the way that I like the way that we're progressing. We're getting contributions from different guys at different times. Abe Halim has been excellent in the last 2 games for us in his role off the bench and really getting comfortable with that. I think Desmond has really settled into him playing off the ball at times, but also playing on the ball. His assist to turnover ratio has been immaculate the last 4 games. And obviously Tay being the scorer that he is, he's able to put the ball in the basket, and Isaiah doing the things that he does. We get big contributions from Mekhi Dillard. Ryan Keenan is another kid that's really, one of those that doesn't get a lot of the credit for the things that he does, but then you look up and he's got 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and games of that nature. When Isaiah sat out a couple of games, Ryan had, a game where he had 10 points, 5 steals, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. So, when you argue for kids like that getting postseason accolades, it's difficult because their numbers aren't great, but when they get the opportunities, they do a really good job.
Yeah, and Coach Marshall from Osborne, in his point of view, he thought that Tay is actually even taking it up another notch the last month or so. He said the last month or so he's been untouchable.
I agree. I think he's by far been the best player in the area with the things that he not only is he doing on the offensive end, which we all knew about, but the bigger thing is he's being hyper efficient in his scoring. He's not shooting the ball more than 12 to 15 times a game, and he's getting upwards of 27, 28 in those type of games. More so, it's the things he's doing for us defensively. He's our best on-ball perimeter defender right now. When we need him to guard somebody that's tough, we put him over there, and he's able to shut him down. For the most part, obviously, he had some difficulties with a very good player on Saturday, but that's to be expected.
Yeah. And Isaiah Vick, last year I saw him slashing a lot as well as playing inside, taking some threes. Has his game has been as versatile this year? Is he doing more and more things?
It's even more so. Last year, I know he did some things every now and then, but there are times where we give him the ball and have him bring it up. We spread it out and let him create for other guys. We ask him to be our best rebounder, which he is. We ask him to be our rim protector, which he is. We ask him to guard the best player that's not the one on the perimeter, but that could happen at times. He's the quarterback of our defense. He's calling, he's talking to everybody, doing that. I'm probably on him more than I am any other player because the expectations I have for him and how good he is. But he's done a great job. I mean, I think he's around 16 points and 8 rebounds a game. Hyper efficient, shooting 80% from the line, which is big time for a guy of his size. So I'm really happy with that.
Yeah. Was it disappointing this year that your district was so down? I mean, you were able to make up for it by scheduling such a tough out of district game. You mentioned Hampton, you mentioned Carroll, you mentioned Hayfield, South Lakes, big win. You're able to play a lot of tough games, but was it difficult playing such a weak conference schedule?
Well, I'm not going to complain about having games that we win a little bit easier than some of these difficult ones you talk about. So it's unfortunate for our league that it wasn't at the same level that it was at. But if you really look at how it's been over the last 5 years, it's been at such a high level. I mean, there were times where we had 3 or 4 teams ranked in the top 10 in Division 6 that at some point in time it had to kind of bring itself back to earth. I know that overall it wasn't great. I thought that it was competitive, though. Obviously, we saw that with Gainesville and how they were able to compete playing against at Potomac in the regional tournament. I thought Freedom South Riding was a very good team, who probably had a chance to win their first round region game, but their best player wasn't there from what I heard. So, it wasn't blow your doors off that it's been, but it's still been, competitive to a certain point. But I'm not going to be mad about being able to win some games and other people not being as good as we are.
Exactly. We'll let them worry about that.
Yeah.
So you go to the postseason after again a really solid regular season, and this is the time that you want to peak. So you get a chance. Forest Park gets knocked off. Obviously the eastern part of the region seems to be the toughest, but you never know until you actually play the games. You go into Potomac, which is going to be a hostile environment. I'm not sure how bitter the rivalry is, the Patriot, because I don't think you guys played that much. But what was that game like? I know you jumped on them early, and what was the environment?
I mean, the environment's going to be, a hostile, great high school basketball environment that goes all the way back to, when I played and obviously coaching over there. I knew what we were going to get ourselves into in this type of atmosphere, this type of game. Uh, you know, um, I know they had some teams that are pretty decent this past year. Obviously, Potomac played very well. Forest Park was one that everybody was picking early. Freedom had a nice little run there at the end, and Woodbridge shook up some things as well. So going into that game, I was very excited for our guys because of the amount of games we played on the road this year in tough environments. I mean, traveling down to Hampton, playing at Princess Anne against Woodside, it's as tough as the environment as Potomac can be at times. Going down those 757 in those tiny gyms where it's a lot going on. I think prepared us for that. And as far as the game goes, they came out. I think we came out in the first quarter, and our guys looked like they were a little tight. Just trying to get themselves together, get used to it. Once we kind of shook that off and was able to get their big guy in some foul trouble, make some shots. Abe had a really good second quarter. We made a lot of shots there in that second quarter. We were able to have a 14-point lead going into the half. Looked like we were going to blow it open, but you're playing against a good basketball team. They're not just going to go away. Got up as much as 19 at one point, and then I think our guys kind of took their foot off the gas pedal. And with a good team, that'll get you in some trouble because all of a sudden, then Kenny got it going, started scoring a lot and getting to his spots. And they closed it within like 2 or 3, but our guys, especially Abe Halim, who made some big shots down the stretch, went on like an 8-0 run basically by himself with a dunk and back-to-back threes. Tay Barber was excellent, 12 of 12 from the foul line, and then, made some key plays and some key stops down the stretch.
Do you give Potomac any chance to upset South Lakes?
You got to. I mean, at this time of year, you got to give everybody a chance. So last 8 teams left. They're a 20-win basketball team. Up to that point, when we played them, they only had 2 losses, so 3 losses. And clearly, the history of the program, but at the same time, Ant Mills will have those guys prepared to go play in a tough road game against a very good South Lakes team.
What's the key to that matchup?
Key to that matchup is going to be, honestly, who is able to keep the other one out of the paint.
Can Potomac handle South Lakes pressure?
Yeah, I think that they can handle it to a certain degree. Obviously, it's going to be difficult because they can run different guys at you and do some different things. But when you have a team that does a lot of the same stuff and practices that every day, you're used to seeing that, where a lot of other teams can't simulate it because they don't have the personnel. So Potomac has the personnel to kind of deal with that. They do a lot of the same things schematically. So I'm sure that they'll have seen it just from practicing against each other every day. So I think that they should be able to handle a little bit, but obviously it's a lot different, especially with the length that they have with Jordan Scott on the perimeter and the things that he's able to do.
Yeah. Now, Coach, you played Madison in the regionals in the state tournament before, so you know something about roller ball. Um, your players probably haven't seen it. When you prepare for a game, would you prefer to play a team that you're used to seeing, like Potomac, or a style you're used to seeing, or a team like Madison that's a little bit different than any team you'll ever play?
Well, I mean, this time of the year, it's kind of like a roll of the dice. You don't know what you're going to get. So you got to be prepared for all of it. I think that, the season that we've had and the teams that we've played, I think has prepared us for anything that we're going to see. There hasn't been a defense yet that we have not seen at this point. So I know that they're going to do some zone stuff with some 2-3 and some 1-3-1 that, they're really good at that. And a lot of the stuff they do offensively is predicated off making you pay for overplaying. So, we're going to have to be prepared for that as well. But, the team in our league that does some of the stuff similar that they do is Freedom South Riding.
Mm-hmm.
They might not do it at the same level that they do, but at least we've seen something like that a couple of times. So, obviously going back to when we played them in 2018, they upset us in the regional tournament. I still remember it like it was yesterday. Ike Onwuka, our best player, falls down and lands on his back in the first quarter after he was averaging over 20 points a game the last month. He was not the same after that, only scored about 8. He still had a chance down the stretch, and a couple interesting calls I thought at the end I didn't really like, but it is what it is. They came in, he coached them a good game, and they won that game. And, they're something that they've done in the past that they continue to do. I mean, they got Wakefield like that when everybody was expecting Wakefield to win that game. So we got to be prepared for a very well-coached team that's going to come in and execute and make things difficult for us.
Yeah. Who's in your bracket, Coach? I don't know how the brackets work this year. Do you know?
Our side of the bracket, also, we have Madison, who we play Tuesday, and then Westpo and Oscar Smith.
Okay, and that will be Oscar Smith. Westpo is the top seed. So if both top seeds win, what will the Friday night's game be?
There would be a neutral site near Westpo, wherever they choose at.
Okay, so technically, the Occoquan would be the home seed,
right? Because we're at the bottom of the bracket.
Right, exactly. So when you're doing tournaments, my guess is you don't spend a whole lot of time looking ahead. That you just worry about one game at a time, or are you thinking about already a Friday night's game?
No, I'm worried about Tuesday. You don't want to look ahead. It was, interesting enough that a couple of different examples of us looking ahead and thinking about what could happen. 4 years ago, we were expecting to play in a regional championship game at Potomac, and we got upset by Massaponics in the regional semis. And obviously 2 years ago in the state semifinals, everybody's talking about Hayfield and that matchup between us being both undefeated at the time, and then the purple guys end up upsetting us in that game. So last thing we want to do is be thinking about who's going to come next when we haven't even played the game that we're supposed to play and win that game. So, and like I talked about, they're going to be really prepared. They're going to play really hard. We'll worry about what comes next after we get through Tuesday night.
Yeah. Now, Westboro is going to be a crazy environment. They brought a huge crowd over to Robinson the other night on a home game. It's going to be tough. Does Oscar Smith have a chance to beat West Potomac on the
I
road?
mean, they got athletes, they got guys that can make plays. You know, they're a good basketball team. Obviously, the trip is going to have its effects on it and being in a hostile environment, but I'm sure they've seen things, if not as close to or worse than that, being down from where they're from, the games they played in. So, you got to expect it to be a pretty good game. I know that that Houston's got his guys playing pretty well at this point, but anytime the 7-5-7 team comes up, it presents its challenges.
Is that a 50-50, or you think West Potomac is probably favored?
I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen Oscar Smith enough to really gauge it. So
I don't know them as a basketball pro. I don't know them as a basketball pro. Are they a basketball program? Oscar
yeah,
Smith?
I mean, a lot of those guys. I mean, clearly we played them last year in the state semi. So
Oh, that's right.
every year down there, they're a good team that you got to deal with and be concerned about. So
Yeah, cool. What about you have any thoughts on the Hayfield Lansdowne matchup?
the same thing, just in reverse. Obviously, Los and them having to travel down to the 7-5-7 and go to Virginia Beach to Lansdowne, who I think has won 15 or 16 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. The game that they won in the semifinal was crazy because they had to get 3 offensive rebounds to get the putback to go up and win that game. And
And they were
turn
down
around,
one. They were down one,
right?
right?
They were down one,
Yeah.
and then to turn around and to blow out Oscar Smith the next time they played, and their coach does an excellent job of having them prepared. They run really good stuff. I mean, I think he's got was it like 500 wins or something crazy like that in his career. So he's coached a lot of good teams and then won a lot of games. I'm pretty sure he's won a state championship as well. So
Are they Lansdowne and Oscar Smith? Are they in the same league as teams like Hampton? What's a team that's Lake Taylor? Are they on the same and also Woodside same level? Or you think they're a notch below those teams?
I think that they're probably a little closer. I'm not sure if they're up to the same level as Hampton and Woodside, but they're still pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, it sounds like it's going to be an exciting tournament. Best of luck on Tuesday. It'll be an intriguing matchup. Hopefully, you get a big crowd out there. I know the home support is always strong at Patriot. You guys haven't been doing as many videos. You used to have that slick video guy do all the games for you guys. He hadn't been doing as much this year, but a lot of great.
There's a lot of stuff that they're doing. It's not as much from Jonathan as much as like collaborative, but I think it's more so because they're trying to put everything together to kind of make one sort of
Okay.
documentary sort of thing over the last couple of years. So hopefully we can, finish it in a good way and not have it be a sad ending.
Yeah, I know you've been doing your show, but 2 years ago, like the videos they put for those games were just
Yeah, they're still out there. You might just be missing them.
It's interesting because I'm on the Prince William sites, but I don't see them. Anyway, Coach, best of luck tomorrow night. It's going to be a great matchup. Hopefully, for your sake, I hope you guys play well. Good game. Everyone comes out safe. And if you guys win, look forward to talking to you later on this week.
I appreciate it, Julian. Thanks for having me on, man. Like I said, it's always good to get these things, right?
I wonder what that thing was. Yeah.
Got to get the next one.
Can I hold that for you?
Maybe not.
All right, bro. Good luck to you again, man. Keep doing what you do.
Appreciate it.
All right, man.